My name is Gloria Prewitt, and I'm 29 years old. If you had asked me a year ago what stability looked like, I would have described my life exactly as it was then, predictable, orderly, grounded. The kind of life people overlook until it's gone. I built it piece by piece, working long hours as a senior data analyst, paying almost all the rent on a downtown apartment we technically shared, and supporting a boyfriend who said he was still finding himself. His name is Evan Gomez, 27. Charismatic in a slippery kind of way. The type of charm that shines brightest when there's an audience. I didn't mind being the solid one, the planner, the steady baseline he could lean on. For 2 years, I believed we were building something. A life. A future. A partnership. Instead, I was building a safety net, and the only person it ever caught was him. I'd paid off the $8,000 credit card debt he said he didn't mean to rack up. I'd funded his impulsive side projects, the short-lived jewelry business, the fitness channel he posted 3 videos on the brand ambassador gig he swore would take off any day. I cooked dinner every night at 6, listened to him vent about how the world just doesn't get creative minds, and told myself patience was love. But lately the word safe, the one he used to murmur as if it were a compliment, had become something else. A warning. An insult. A reminder of how bored he was with the very stability he relied on. The real shift started when he reconnected with Jessica Lynn, his ex-girlfriend. Jessica was a walking storm of toxic positivity and internet pseudo-psychology. The kind of woman who said high value like it was a personality trait. She led a new friend group. Evan had fallen into a circle obsessed with image status and the illusion of success. With them, Evan wasn't the sweet, ambitious dreamer I had met. He became someone else. Someone who treated me like a dull backdrop to his newly curated life. And I felt it, like standing in a room where the temperature slowly drops. You don't notice the cold until your hands start shaking. A week before everything fell apart, we went to a dinner celebrating Evan's upcoming Vegas boys trip. A trip he insisted was for networking, though he hadn't held a steady job in nearly a year. As usual, I paid. Jessica lounged across from me, talking loudly about her new guy, a crypto trader who leased a sports car and called himself an entrepreneur. "You should look into crypto," Evan, Jessica said, eyes shining with fake wisdom. Evan didn't respond, so I answered gently, "I prefer investing in things I can quantify." Jessica gave a short, sharp laugh. "That's adorable. Gloria, you actually enjoy sitting on the financial sidelines, don't you?" Her tone wasn't condescending. It was dismissive, like she was swatting a fly. Then she turned to Evan, tapping her nails on her glass. "You need people in your life who play the game, not spectate." Evan didn't defend me. He didn't even look at me. He just shrugged, half smiling, as if protecting me would have made him look weak. The look they shared, a quick flicker of understanding, sliced through me cleaner than any insult. It told me exactly where I stood in their world. Not as a partner, not as an equal. As an inconvenience. We left dinner quietly. Evan didn't hold my hand. He barely spoke, too busy smiling down at his phone as Jessica texted him more nonsense about high-status men and women who elevate their partners. I stared out the car window the whole way home, wondering when the man I loved had become a stranger sitting inches from me. By Thursday night, the illusion finally shattered. His bags were sprawled across the bed. I'd paid for a mess of sequins, graphic tees, and expensive outfits Jessica apparently helped him pick. He was smiling at his phone again, typing fast, the glow of the screen lighting up a face that didn't look like my boyfriend anymore. "Evan, we need to talk," I said from the doorway. He let out the kind of sigh people reserve for the worst inconveniences in life. "Gloria, seriously. Right now. I'm trying to get into Vegas mode. Don't be a buzzkill." A buzzkill. The word hit me harder than it should have. Maybe because I was tired. Maybe because I had been carrying both of us for 2 years. Maybe because deep down, I knew he meant it. "That dinner last week," I said quietly. "The way Jessica spoke to me. The way you let her." He rolled his eyes and finally looked at me. Not lovingly, not even neutrally, but with irritation. "Do you want honesty?" he asked, voice sharp. Something icy spread in my chest. "Yes." He stood up, jaw clenched, eyes narrowing. "Fine. My friends think you're a joke." My hands went numb. Joke," I whispered. "Yes, Gloria. A joke," he snapped, rushing forward as if he'd been waiting to unleash this. "You're predictable. You're safe. You're the nice girl who finishes the spreadsheet. You're not the one who changes the world." The cruelty in his voice stunned me. This wasn't just a bad moment. This was truth he'd been storing like ammunition. My friends are meeting women who live lavish, women who take risks, women with ambition. You, his words sliced cleanly, you play life way too small. For a long moment, the apartment hummed with silence like it was holding its breath. And you, I finally managed. Do you agree with them? He didn't hesitate. He didn't blink. I need to be around winners for a few days, he said with a careless shrug. I need to breathe. He zipped his luggage, grabbed his cologne, and slung his bag over his shoulder. I'll see you Sunday. Don't wait up. He kissed the air, somewhere near my cheek, and walked out without looking back. The door clicked shut. I heard the elevator ding. And I stood there in the stillness, unable to move, replaying the same brutal, echoing word. A joke. The man I supported, protected, and believed in had reduced me to that. But as the silence stretched deeper, something inside me shifted. Not rage, not heartbreak. Something cleaner, sharper. Clarity. He didn't just disrespect me. He didn't break up with me. He didn't even have the courage for that. He insulted me and left the country. He expected me to stay. Expected me to wait. Expected me to be the safe, dependable constant. But the real joke, was that he believed I still would. I woke up Friday morning with a strange sense of stillness, the kind that comes right after a storm, before you realize the wreckage is actually an opportunity. Evan was somewhere in Vegas by then, laughing, drinking, feeling weightless, completely unaware that everything he took for granted was about to disappear. I wasn't shaking anymore. I wasn't replaying his words. I wasn't clutching the insult like a wound. If anything, I felt steady, alert, almost optimized. I made one call. Samantha, can you come? She didn't ask what happened. She didn't need details. She just said, I'll grab the truck. In less than an hour, she was at my door with two of her gym friends, broad-shouldered, gentle-eyed men, who looked like they were built specifically for heavy lifting and quiet support. They didn't ask for explanations either. They saw the look on my face and got to work. We didn't speak much. We didn't need to. The first thing I did was stand in the apartment and look around. Really look at everything I had paid for, the life I funded, the structure I built that Evan simply lived inside like it was owed to him. I took only what was mine. My books stacked in careful piles, my desk and PC set up, the tools that actually paid the bills, my bed frame dismantled in minutes by one of Samantha's friends, my clothes, my cookware, the espresso machine Evan always bragged about, even though he never paid for it. The sofa was heavier than it looked, but we managed. The 65-inch TV, the smart bulbs, the air fryer, all mine. Piece by piece, the apartment emptied. With every item removed, another illusion crumbled. Not just the illusion of us, but the illusion that I owed him anything. By mid-afternoon, the apartment wasn't just quiet, it echoed. The kind of echo you only hear in places that have lost their warmth. All that remained were Evan's things. The clothes he bought to impress Jessica, his colognes, his abandoned projects, and the ridiculous oversized gold leaf mirror he insisted he needed to feel like a winner. I left the mirror. It felt appropriate that he'd return to it. When the last box was loaded into the truck, Samantha gave me a long look. You good? I nodded, but the truth was heavier. Leaving someone emotionally is one thing. Leaving physically, packing up the remnants of a shared life feels like a small funeral. Not for the person, but for the version of yourself who stayed too long. At 4:30 p.m., I made my final call. The landlord answered out of breath. Hello, this is Gloria from 10F, I said. My voice was steady. I'm giving official notice. I've moved out. But the lease you still have 6. I'm forfeiting the security deposit, I interrupted softly, and I'm paying my half of the lease break penalty today. The silence on the other end was rich with shock. Evan Gomez, I continued, will be responsible for his remaining half and the full rent from this day forward. But you can't just, that's not. The transfer notification pinged on my phone. I've already sent payment, I said, and I'll email you the formal documentation. I hung up before he could sputter another objection. This wasn't about money. This was about reclaiming the years I wasted. I walked into the kitchen one last time, opened a drawer, pulled out a sticky note. 5 quiet, sharp words. Hope they think this is funny too. I placed it dead center on the refrigerator door. Then I walked to the front entrance, locked it behind me, and stepped away from that version of my life for the final time. My new apartment wasn't glamorous. It was small with soft light and plain beige walls. But it was mine. I dropped onto my sofa, and let the silence settle around me. A good silence. A healing one. I opened my phone. Blocked Evan. Blocked Jessica. Blocked every man from Evan's inflated friend circle. Blocked anyone who had weaponized the word safe against me. Then I changed my voicemail to a robotic system message, clean, cold, impersonal. A perfect firewall. I ordered a pizza, curled up under a blanket, and fell asleep for 10 straight hours. The world didn't crumble. I didn't fall apart. I didn't regret a single moment. In fact, I felt lighter than I had in years. The next morning, Samantha texted, "He lands Sunday. Brace yourself for the meltdown." I stared at the message for a moment, not with dread, not with fear, but with a strange, steady calm. I didn't need to see the chaos that was coming. I already knew it would be inevitable. Some consequences don't need a witness. They just need the truth to finally catch up with the person who ran from it. Evan got back on Sunday night. I didn't see his face when he opened the apartment door. I didn't hear the sound he made when he flicked on the lights and realized the space was nearly hollow. But I didn't need to. I could imagine it easily the moment reality finally stopped buffering and loaded in full resolution. From what Samantha later told me, he stood frozen for almost 30 seconds. Not moving, not breathing, just staring. The sofa was gone. The bed was gone. The TV, the desk, the chairs, everything I paid for had vanished. Only his belongings remained: wrinkled shirts, cheap colognes, abandoned fitness gadgets, and that absurd gold leaf mirror reflecting his own stunned expression back at him. Then he panicked. The neighbors apparently heard him sprint out into the hallway shouting, "Someone robbed us, everything's gone." He called 911. 2 officers showed up, tired, disinterested, completely unwilling to entertain his drama. They scanned the room, checked the closets, glanced at the sticky note on the fridge, and looked at each other with the universal expression of men who were not getting overtime for this. "Sir," one officer said flatly, "this isn't a crime scene. It's a breakup." Evan sputtered. "But she took everything." "Did she pay for it?" the other officer asked. "Yes, but..." "Then it's not theft." They left. Evan didn't. He sat on the floor, staring at the note like it was a riddle he couldn't solve. Hope they think this is funny too. Monday morning at exactly 9:14 a.m., the second hit landed. The landlord. "Mr. Gomez," he said sharply, "we've been informed Ms. Pruitt has vacated. As of now, you are legally responsible for the entire monthly rent." "What? No, that's not. She can't just..." "She paid her half of the lease break penalty," the landlord continued. "We still require your half by the 1st. If not, we begin eviction procedures." The call lasted 90 seconds. The consequences would last much longer. Evan hadn't worked in almost a year. He lived on my income, my stability, my routine. Without me, his life had no scaffolding. And that was the part he never understood. He had mocked the very structure that kept him afloat. Now, for the first time, he was carrying his own weight. And it was crushing him. By noon, Samantha showed up at my apartment, holding her phone with both hands. "Sit down," she said. "It's time." I braced myself. She pressed play. Voicemail Nona 1, Sunday, 11:38 p.m. His voice shook. Sam, where is Gloria? She's not answering. I came home, and it's all gone. Everything's gone. The bed. She took the bed. Why would she, Sam, call me back? Please. I exhaled slowly. Somewhere inside me, the part that used to rush to him stirred, but only faintly, like remembering a song you no longer like. Samantha pressed the next one. Voicemail number 2, Monday, 2:03 p.m. Now he was furious. "Are you kidding me? She can't disappear like this. You tell Gloria to call me, immediately. She abandoned me. Sam, this is insane. I will hire a lawyer. She owes me. He actually believed that. Samantha rolled her eyes so hard I heard the sound. I kept quiet. I always kept quiet when I was with him. But for the first time, that silence felt like control, not defeat. She played the last one. Voicemail number 3, Tuesday, 3:12 a.m. Sam, I don't know what to do. His voice was hoarse, the kind that comes after crying. I can't pay the rent. Jessica won't answer me. No one will. I'm just sitting here. I'm sitting on the floor where the bed used to be, and He sucked in a shaky breath. Please tell her I'm sorry. Please. I just need her to talk to me. Just talk to me. Samantha looked at me cautiously. That one almost made me feel bad for him, she admitted. I didn't respond. Not because I was cold, because I realized finally that his desperation wasn't about losing me. It was about losing the comfort I provided. There's a difference. And he never understood that difference because he never had to. Until now. By Tuesday afternoon, the predictable cavalry arrived. An unknown number flashed on my phone. I answered without thinking. Gloria. A woman's voice, soft and syrupy. This is Diane Evans' mother. Of course. Hello, I said calmly. Oh, honey, she began immediately. Evan is just devastated. Completely gutted. He told me everything. He said he made a terrible mistake and he's just broken. I said nothing. And well, you leaving like that, it's very embarrassing for him, she added, her tone tightening. There it was again. Not heartbreak, not remorse. Embarrassment. Image. He needs you, she pressed. Just talk to him. Help him through this. Mrs. Gomez, I said softly. Evan doesn't need me. He needs reality. She inhaled sharply. Gloria, be reasonable. I wish him well, I said, but I'm done playing the part he assigned me. Gloria, I won't be taking any more calls. I hung up, blocked her, just like I had blocked her son. But the message that arrived that evening, that one made me let out a short, humorless laugh. Samantha sent it with the caption, "You are not ready." It was from Jessica, on LinkedIn. Gloria, I think what you did to Evan was extremely cruel. He's at rock bottom. Be the bigger woman and give him closure. Help him rebuild. It's the least you can do after humiliating him. Closure, from me. After she spent months whispering in his ear, convincing him he deserved better than me. I sent one word, no, then blocked her too. After Samantha left, the apartment felt still but not empty this time. Peaceful. I sat on my couch and finally realized something I hadn't been able to name until that moment. Evan's collapse wasn't my revenge. It was simply the natural consequence of him having to stand without me. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt free. Truly unmistakably free. A year passed. It didn't happen suddenly. No fireworks, no cinematic montage, no triumphant music. Just a slow unfurling of breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding for years. My life rebuilt itself quietly, one small decision at a time. I took on an AI project at work that no one else wanted, a complex predictive model everyone insisted was a dead end. I solved it. It earned me a promotion, then a raise, then a spot on the company's data strategy team. I moved into a brighter apartment 3 blocks from the river. The sunlight poured in every morning like a second chance. I started going to the gym, reading again, cooking meals that weren't rushed or emotionally drained. But the biggest shift wasn't external. For the first time in years, I went days, then weeks, without worrying about someone else's chaos. I didn't have to hold anyone together. I didn't have to be the parachute, the therapist, the crisis control center. I didn't have to explain myself or justify myself or shrink myself. I just had to be me, and that turned out to be enough. His name was Nathan Reyes, and meeting him felt like walking into a room and realizing the lighting had been wrong your whole life. Nathan was an architect, steady-handed, quietly observant, the kind of man who listened first and spoke second. He laughed at my dry humor, admired my work, and never once used the word safe like it was an insult. He showed up on time. He kept his promises. He never needed me to carry him. Not emotionally, not financially, not at all. He was a partner, not a project. We'd been dating for 5 months when the invitation arrived, the City Tech Innovation Gala, where my AI project had been nominated for a small industry award. My company had a table. Nathan insisted on coming with me. "You built something brilliant," he said, straightening my necklace before we left. "I'm proud to be there with you." Proud. The word still felt foreign sometimes, but I held on to it. The ballroom shimmered with soft golden light, the kind that makes everything look expensive and everyone look composed. Crystal chandeliers reflected off sleek black tables. Industry leaders mingled with glasses of champagne in hand. I wore a deep burgundy dress, structured, elegant, simple. Nathan wore a tailored black suit that made him look like he'd stepped out of a quiet, confident dream. We laughed through most of the evening. He told me stories about ridiculous client requests, glass staircases held up by the idea of gravity, Tuscan brutalist hybrids, things only unhinged rich people could dream up. "Be right back," I whispered, brushing my fingers against his arm. "I'm going to get us more champagne." He smiled. "Don't get kidnapped by the machine learning people." I laughed and headed toward the bar. I was halfway there when a strange, prickling sensation crawled across the back of my neck. Someone was staring at me. I didn't know how I knew, I just did. I turned, and there he was. Evan. It took me a second to recognize him. He was thinner than before, his posture smaller. His hair was styled too sharply, as if he'd tried too hard. His face was covered in heavy makeup meant to hide exhaustion, not enhance confidence. He wasn't wearing a suit. He wasn't a guest. He was holding a branded tray, tiny samples of an energy drink. A brand ambassador job. One of the temporary ones that paid by the hour and required a fake smile. The contrast hit me like a punch I didn't feel until several seconds later. His eyes locked on mine, and something in him cracked. He abandoned the tray on a nearby ledge and pushed through the crowd toward me. I took an instinctive step back, but it was too late. He cornered me near the bar, breath-shaky eyes wide with desperation. "Gloria," he said, voice trembling. "Oh my God. You look incredible." I nodded politely. "Evan." Just his name, nothing more. His gaze ran over me like he was cataloging every mistake he'd ever made. "Gloria, please. I've been looking for you everywhere. I didn't know you'd be here. God, I didn't know how much I missed you until right now." His words poured out in a frantic rush. "I'm so sorry. I was stupid. I was a child. Those people, that life, it ruined me. You were the only real thing I had. The only person who cared." I stared at him, absorbing all of it with an unshaken calm I never had when we were together. He kept talking. "I lost the apartment. I got evicted. I moved back in with my mom. Jessica blocked me. Everyone blocked me. And..." His voice cracked. "I've learned my lesson. I swear. We can fix this. We can be happy again. Please, Gloria." There was a time when those words would have broken me. A time when I would have heard pain and felt responsible for fixing it. But that time was gone. I didn't pull away. I didn't raise my voice. I simply looked down at his hand where it hovered near my arm, tremoring with entitlement disguised as desperation. He lowered it slowly, realizing he no longer had permission to touch me. His voice hardened. "So that's it. You get to flourish, and I get to be the joke now." I tilted my head slightly, studying him. "Evan," I said quietly, "you're not a joke." For a second, his face flickered with hope. I leaned in just enough for my voice to stay private. "You're not anything." His expression collapsed, not like someone who'd been rejected, but like someone who had finally been erased. A warm voice cut through the space between us. "There you are." Nathan slipped beside me, gentle as always, placing a respectful hand on my back. He wasn't threatened, wasn't possessive, just present. Confident. Kind. "Is everything okay?" Nathan asked softly. I smiled at him, a real smile, warm and easy. "Perfect," I said. I turned back to Evan. He looked at Nathan the way someone looks at a version of themselves they'll never become. "Excuse us," I said politely, the way you speak to a stranger asking for directions. "Have a good night." Nathan guided me back toward our table. I didn't look behind me. I didn't have to. Some chapters don't need to be closed. They dissolve the moment you walk into a better room. We stepped out onto the terrace, and the night air wrapped around us like a quiet exhale. Soft lights strung along the railing reflected off the glass buildings around us. The city felt alive but distant, like it was humming in agreement with a truth I finally understood. Nathan handed me a glass of champagne. "You okay?" he asked gently. I looked up at him, at his steady posture, his calm eyes, the gentle kindness that never demanded anything from me. "I am," I said. And for the first time in years, it wasn't a performance. It was just true. We found a small table near the edge of the terrace overlooking the river. The water glimmered, like someone had scattered 1,000 stars across it. I leaned against the railing, letting the cool breeze brush through my hair. Nathan bumped his shoulder lightly against mine. "You handled that with a lot of grace." I let out a soft breath. Grace might be a generous word. "No," he said, shaking his head. "You didn't shame him. You didn't humiliate him. You just drew a line and walked forward. That's not cruelty. That's closure." I stared out over the water. Closure. Funny how people always expected it to come from a conversation or an apology or a mutual understanding. But sometimes closure wasn't a door quietly closing. It was a door you didn't even realize had been wide open until you finally walked through it and felt the air change. Nathan slipped his hand into mine. It was warm, steady grounding. "You deserve good things, Gloria," he said. "You always did." My throat tightened a little, not from sadness, but from the unfamiliar softness of being treated with simple, consistent respect. "I used to think being reliable made me boring," I murmured. "I used to think being safe made me small, like there was something wrong with me for wanting stability." "Wanting peace," Nathan corrected. "That's not small, that's smart." For a moment, I just let myself feel the weight of that. Peace. Such a simple word. Such a rare thing. I didn't realize how long I'd gone without it. As the MC inside announced another award, a ripple of applause drifted through the terrace doors. I smiled to myself. There had been a time when I would have wondered what Evan was thinking, where he'd gone, whether he was staring at the ground or at the sky or at the life he'd lost. But not tonight. Not anymore. That version of me, the one who carried guilt like oxygen, who internalized every insult, who waited for someone else's chaos to settle before breathing, she was gone. In her place was someone lighter, someone clearer, someone who no longer mistook survival for love. Nathan squeezed my hand again, and I turned toward him. "Ready to go back in?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Let's celebrate." He smiled, warm, proud, steady, and together we walked toward the ballroom's golden glow. As the door opened, laughter and music washed over us. People clinked glasses. Camera flashes lit up the stage. My coworkers waved me over. The world felt wide and open and strangely new, like a chapter I didn't realize I had been writing was finally ready to begin. And just before I stepped inside, I realized something so startlingly simple that I almost laughed. I couldn't even remember what Evan had called me that night. His insult, his punchline, his attempt to belittle me. Safe, predictable, a joke. It all blurred together into something weightless. Because it didn't matter, not anymore. It wasn't my life anymore. It wasn't my story anymore. This, the warmth, the confidence, the quiet certainty in my chest, this was my story now. And it was finally beautifully mine.